right. Greetings, my fellow freeloaders and thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Beehive State, which is also known as Utah. And today's date, Tuesday, July 26th, 2016. So probably on the East Coast would be the 27th on a Wednesday. So it's all good. But a lot of interesting stuff has been happening. And I just was in a real good mood, laughing so hard at what's going on with the DNC protests in Philadelphia. And they nominated Hillary Clinton to be the first woman in the majority party to be a presidential candidate that's been nominated by the DNC. So I just have to really laugh, and I know a bunch of Bernie supporters are out there protesting, plus even folks from Black Lives Matter, and even Jill Stein, who is a presidential candidate for the Green Party, is out there as well. When I got a tweet from that a couple of hours ago, and I'm just times I'm real critical with Black Lives Matter and have my disagreements with Jill Stein, but I'm not saying everyone in there is bad. But you always got to watch out on infiltrators in plants. However, I like it because it's been proven time and time again that the DNC, dumbed down Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton, are a bunch of corrupt pieces of trash. I don't even call them women. It's an insult to that particular species, the women that is. And I say that out of homage. However, it's just a lot of stuff is happening. People are actually forcing to take sides. And I'm just still keeping everything keen in good faith because I don't like to be told what to do or how to think. I like to contemplate on my own free will. To me, it's a waste of time and energy. And I was expecting to be pick Hillary or Donald Trump. The problem is with some of the third parties, they've been compromised as well, including Gary Johnson and that Wild, who was a neocon that supported police state referendums, including the Patriot Act and other good things, other treasonous, I would say, programs. But I'm just gonna read what the Business Insider has to say, and of course, Bernie Sanders became the lapdog, and a lot of delegates were infuriated with that. And like I said, I've been saying this for quite sometimes. I am not a big supporter of Bernie Sanders because, in good faith, he's been just another anti-freedom candidate. However, I do agree completely to the Sanders supporters that he got screwed and the election being rigged. Of course, WikiLeaks brought that out, and now dumbed down Debbie resigned. I think I like to see her lose the primaries against Tom Canova at the 23rd district. Like I said, in my last episode, I see some pros and cons in the man, but I'll have to have a one-on-one conversation. That's why I always say in the past, if people in the United States, if any of these candidates are compromise our U.S. Bill of Rights culture, respectfully, they need to be eliminated on a legitimate basis. I mean, step down, don't support them. They can say all these lovey-dovey rhetoric, but you always got to get them on the fine line. Because when it comes to them as governmental servants, you can never trust them. You have to be vigilant. Avoid all these distractions. So, instead of me ranting on and on and on, I was going to go check this out from the Business Insider by Oliver Darcy, and this is entitled, "It's Official, Hillary Clinton nominated as first major party female presidential candidate. Can we say blasphemy altogether?" And let's continue, proceed. Hillary Clinton on Tuesday became the first woman to be nominated as a presidential candidate of a major U.S. political party. And she has her heart, like, "I love all you guys, even though I'm going to screw you later," all being used, and all these folks are out there praising her. They have the Jim Jones syndrome. And I will continue on. The former Secretary of State and former U.S. Senator was formally nominated for president by the Democratic Party, and at its national convention in Philadelphia, she will lead the party in the general election matchup with Republican nominee Donald Trump. Wow. Clinton has been the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party since she defeated her chief rival, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, in the California primary in June, which many people said it was stolen. And you know what? I believe them and will support that. I don't have to be Bernie Sanders' buddy or fan, but when it comes to principles, I'm the first one to say he got robbed. Many of us remembered what happened to Ron Paul in 2012 when those GOP neocon stooges themselves tossed him out under the bus. I will continue. Sanders, in a show of unity, moved for the convention to nominate Clinton by a voice vote at the end of the state-by-state roll call proceedings. Clinton's former nomination came amid a hacking scandal that compromised thousands of Democratic National Committee emails. Excuse me, I got the hiccups here. One moment here. I'm going to take a shot of water. Okay, sorry about that. And I will continue. Correspondence between top Democratic officials was published by WikiLeaks and showed that the party apparatus was used to tip the scales in favor of Clinton and against Sanders, deepening an existing divide between the two camps. As the DNC got underway on Monday, Sanders aimed to unite the party, delivering a strong endorsement of Clinton during a primetime address before the Philadelphia convention on Monday. Well, that backfired if you've been watching the CNN videos on your social media sites. All right, proceed. Clinton is scheduled to formally accept the Democratic nomination when she addresses delegates at the convention. On Thursday night, her husband, former President Bill Clinton, will speak on Tuesday evening. That will be today. So I don't know why people are going to be so fascinated with some well-dressed Morlock and claim of a sex scandal that's supposed to be going viral. And I remember the shirts and Infowars and all that about the Clinton rape. And it was interesting about that. That's what Infowars, but I read this about 16 years ago, and it was on transformation in America. Even David Icke wrote it and put that in his book, Biggest Secret, about Kathy O'Brien. This has been going this is like in the 90s, like it happened in the 90s. I'm correct, but I read this in like 2000, and when I heard about Kathy O'Brien, I'm like, bing, that rang a bell. And you know what? The woman's not lying, but I examined her eyes. But definitely check out that book, Transformation of America. I know she was on, if I'm correct, they talk about her on Stu Webb as well. So, and like I say, observe responsibly. But I read about this like 16 years ago. But the whole thing is with this: the Democratic Party right now is in deep cahoots. A lot of damage has been done. The wound has expanded big time. And the Republicans too, both major parties, even the GOP, is in shambles because Donald Trump got nominated, but still some people are like saying, yeah, he's a man, he's a man, he's a man, and I'm not condemning him. As I'm critical on some of his past practices, I was never a big fan of his show, but never a big fan of his show. What's that? The Apprentice. I never cared. However, like I said in my past episodes, he's been hitting people with some memorable information. So, and even all these other alternative media and so forth, like Infowars, or in Stu Web and all that, are supporting them because on those areas. But the whole thing is this: you have to look at who is more qualified to be in this part, to be president. And the fact is this: it actually goes to the Electoral College. I'm going to add that video. I'm going to plan to add that video by nationalarchives.org about the whole thing on Electoral College so people can really understand what the whole thing when it comes to the presidential elections, because everyone's like, oh yeah, I voted them in. No, your vote goes to the Electoral College. But I will say this: I am not too keen of Hillary Clinton being president or being in this nominated. Okay, and the whole thing was really makes me laugh because is a lot of stuff has happening. There's even a great amount of people have walked out, which I'm going to say that next. And I know I'm digressing, forgive me, but I'm going to hit this one right now. It's from RT. Originally, it was actually by Reuters that reported this. It says here, walkout and occupation. Sanders delegate stage walkout at DNC roll call. After Bernie Sanders moved to nominate Hillary Clinton by acclamation during roll call, he left the Democratic Convention Hall, as did more than 500 of his delegates. Over 300 of those participating occupied the media center after walking out of the roll call vote for the presidential nomination at the Democratic National Convention. The police blocked the media center entrance, even blocking reporters from re-entering. Another group of 200 people gathered outside the media center, who are called Coalition 57. Hillary Clinton never had those votes. Those votes were with Bernie, and will leave with Bernie. Bernie energized the base, and they will stay with the Democratic Party. I'm one of those people, a delegate from Maui, Hawaii, told RT. Another delegate said the Democratic Party needed healing. There were over 1,900 delegates votes for Sanders before his acclamation motion to Clinton. Okay, like I said, go on here. We knew this was going to happen. Sanders, had a conference call with delegates a few weeks ago and said he said the world has to see what we accomplished. Says Michael Fortes, a delegate from Oakland, California. We didn't know he will call for acclamation. It's a very symbolic gesture. However, I think a couple of things have to happen before we achieve unity. We need healing. There was something done in the structure of the party. We need an apology. Okay, well, there's just some opinions here. Ohio delegate Michelle Moen, told RT, "I am very thankful for all the work he has done for the issues that people face in this country. I can continue to hold politicians accountable." Another delegate walked out was Kathy from Wisconsin. "We followed Bernie's lead and we followed him out. I was so enveloped in hope, and there doesn't appear to be much of that, and am heartbroken, as I'm sure the senator is," said Kathy. "I have been working for him for over a year. I'm tired. I'm gonna I'm out of hope right now." Some of the delegates taped their mouths shut with black tape to signify that they had been silenced. Despite the large number of delegates walking out, not all of his supporters at the convention agreed on all of the issues regarding the nomination process or the party's future. A Bernie Sanders delegate from Kansas was opposed to walk out, while a San Diego delegate said he recognized the political pressure that Bernie Sanders was under. "I'm not going to fault him for doing what he did," said the San Diego delegate. "I do fault the DNC for rigging this election from the beginning. The WikiLeaks confirmed that we were saying all along." He added, "People are going to run for office on their own. The DNC has lost a lot of delegates. It's not just the new millennial exiting. There are a lot of veteran Democrats who are leaving." So it's right there. Just another example when you got some private Mickey Mouse club. That's what it is, a private club where our tax dollars is going to these confounded conventions. You got to get them where it hurts. You know what? We should stop public funding these confounded conventions, because this is all a dog and pony show, as far as I'm concerned. I'd like to see the House do their nominations, okay, on more electoral college. Then we have to go follow around, do some confetti and some Mickey Mouse parade. Totally irrelevant. But I don't blame the Bernie Sanders supporters on this. I know, like I said, they've been duped and swindled. And I'm not here to condemn, but some of them didn't like it when I told everyone he is not Bill of Rights friendly. They get mad, but you know what? I'm being very honest. But the truth of the matter is, he got duped, and his supporters did as well. Because I have to respect them on one area. They put their time and money, their valuable time, to try to get the message out. Even if I agree with it or not, they taken the initiative. They were proactive, and that's a good thing. But when you get slapped in the face like that, oh yeah, I can relate to it. When I supported Ron Paul and what's his name, Rand Paul, decided to endorse Mitt Romney, And I was watching that stupid show, Sean Hannity, and I was not impressed. I hear Bobblehead Henry, I can't, how come he's on without me? You know what? Because he's a neocon pathetic stooge. Another Bob up from reading from a teleprompter. I'm not here to condemn him, Mr. Hannity, but I was not impressed. So I understand that about politics. It's one filthy entity. But I have to say, the 500 more than 500 delegates walked out before a roll call. Good for you. It should be like that more often, more, until the convention's done. Start booing them when these idiots speak, these boneheads speak, including Bill Clinton. You should start blasting them, laughing at them. That's what the delegates are saying to do. Start calling these parasites out. And ask Bill Clinton, you're a bend over Bob to the New World Order, CFR Uncle Tom. You should use that rhetoric at that convention because these people don't care about you. Evil, pure evil. Can you explain to me, to the people, folks out there, that they're a bunch of Hillary worshippers? How come there's a Clinton Bush Foundation? Think about it. Really contemplate that in your heads. I'm going to continue on here. I know I'm talking too much. Okay, this is from the International Business Times. After Hillary Clinton nomination, Bernie Sanders protesters storm out of the DNC and set stage sit-in. Yeah, so almost the same thing, but you know what? A little bit more detail. We'll just check this what they have to say. It's by Clark Mindock. Does the protesters and Bernie Sanders delegates stormed off of the Democratic National Convention floor Thursday night, less than an hour after former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was officially named as the party's nominee. The stream of protesters surged in the tent reserved for reporters, staging a sit-in to show their dissatisfaction with what they describe as a rigged nominating system that favored Clinton throughout the year, ultimately minimizing the voices and votes of Sanders and his supporters. Protesters pushed between the Wells Fargo Center and the press tent, blocking the path for reporters heading to the convention speeches. He came here to the convention trying to understand how the rules work. Jason Allen, a delegate from Oregon, said, claiming the DNC failed to respect their own rules and essentially pushed for Clinton to be the nominee. This convention has been a long, expensive commercial for Hillary Clinton. We can relate to that. Tampa, 2012, RNC. Pushing for Mitt Romney, flip-flop Mitt Romney. So a lot of other people, Ron Paul supporters, can relate to that. The protesters, a device group that included Native Americans, African Americans, and white people, expressed discontent with the political process they witnessed at the DNC, with many saying they were participating in a political capacity for the first real time in their life. They had been pushed away by Democrats throughout the election season, while the Democratic Party they reckoned should have remained impartial allowed party insiders to quietly push Clinton into the nomination, they said. This whole campaign has been minimized. Now we know we weren't making it up, and all the people in charge were promoted. Michael Horn, a former teacher in South Carolina, said, referring to the recent DNC email leaks that showed an inside effort favoring Clinton. They tell us to just settle? That's what people who can afford their prescriptions can say. Hey, good quote there, Mr. Horn. Police throughout the encounter remained calm, and the two sides did not physically clash. The protesters, many of them delegates, gave a variety of reasons for their fidelity to Sanders. If they gave them at all, some noted a simple desire to show that rules had been broken by Democrats. Others expressed sadness that a candidate they felt was once in a lifetime had been kept from the nomination, while others said their connection was spiritual. Anything will weather down the earth, wind, water, and fire. Robert Sadicom, a delegate from Washington State, said, Sanders won me over by his actions, not his words. Well, like I said, more people are a little bit infuriated. You know what? Like I said before, can't blame them because it's called principles. And now with this one of the mainstream parties They just slapped all those folks in the face. Hopefully, dumbed down Debbie Wasserman Schultz is listening to this. Because true is one thing, you can't lead a pack of rats to a nearest dump site. And you're still one treasonous woman that made Benedict Arnold a patriot. That includes Hillary Clinton as well. And many others that were involved in this Mickey Mouse Club. So I'm going to continue here. WikiLeaks emails brings new attention to Hillary Victory Fund money laundering charges. Yes, like it says here, it's by Wall Street on Parade. The problem with conspiracy theorists is that quite frequently the theorists lack adequate imagination. That seems to be the case when it comes to the Democratic National Committee's behind-the-scenes machinations to muscle Hillary Clinton into the White House while plotting against her main challenger, Bernie Sanders. That conclusion stemmed from the trove of 20,000 DNC emails dumped into the public sphere by WikiLeaks last Friday. The leaked emails have cost Debbie Wasserman Schultz her job as the chair of the DNC, but other top DNC officials captured in devious plots against Sanders in the email exchanges still have their jobs, or at least no official firing had been announced. This makes the conspiracy seem more like a DNC business model. The DNC's own charter demands that treat all Democratic primaries candidates fairly and impartiality, but not top DNC officials made a mockery of that mandate in addition to conjuring up ways to smear Clinton challenger Bernie Sanders during the primary battles. The leaked email shows a coordinated effort to cover up what the Sanders camp called money laundering between the Hillary Victory Fund and the DNC. Despite the fact that Sanders' campaign had no such active arrangements with the DNC agreed to participate in the Hillary Victory Fund, a joint fundraising committee that solicited money to both Hillary's main candidate committee, Hillary for America, as well into the DNC. Too much tinier degree funds also went to dozens of separate state Democratic committees. On May 2nd of this year, the Sanders campaign released a statement charging Clinton with looting funds meant for the state parties to skirt fundraising limits on her presidential campaign and exploiting the rules in ways that led her high-dollar donors like Alice Walton of Walmart fame and the actor George Clooney and his super-rich Hollywood friends skirt legal limits on campaign contributions. Wow. So, and all those people in the unions are picketing Walmart, and you still want to support this woman? Not all, but certain labor organizations. I'll be very fair. I can't say unions as a whole, but I know there's some labor organizations that are endorsing Hillary Clinton, and she supports Walmart. Something to really look at, my friends. A lot of these folks are wearing no clothes. She's probably wearing a diaper, that's all I know. But I will proceed. Despite Clinton's promise to rein in tax dodges by hedge funds, Wall Street on Parade reported in April that a major hedge fund, Titans, were also big donors to the Hillary Victory Fund, we wrote at the time. The Elections Commission report showed that S. Donald Sussman, a former of hedge fund of Paloma Partners, gave $343,400 to the Hillary Victory Fund, while also donating $2.5 million to Priorities USA, the secret PAC supporting Hillary. Hedge fund billionaire George Soros donated $343,400 to the Hillary Victory Fund. Yep, the One World Order, New World Order, George Soros. Jorge, that is. While soliciting a whooping $7 million to Priority USA to enhance Hillary's effort to move into the Oval Office. And the funniest thing about it, she talks about going after big corporations. What a hypocrite. She's just an example, of course. Today reporters Ken Hogel and Isaac Arnzoff of Politico have provided significant new details from the leaked email to show how the DNC worked behind the scenes to control the media's handling of revelations involving the Hillary Victory Fund. Vogel was criticized by some media outlets when the WikiLeaks emails revealed that he had allowed a DNC official to review one of his articles critical of the joint fundraising operation prior to publication. Eric Wemple of the Washington Post has provided some necessary clarity to that issue here. And let's just check this out. I don't know if it's going to be, folks can look it up yourselves. That's on July 25th, by the way. Interesting. So you can look it up for yourself. It's like leave politicals, Ken Vogel alone. So just give you guys a heads up, all right? The Clinton camp and the DNC had attempted publicly to defend the joint fundraising operation as providing critical help to state committees in order to help down ticket candidates. But today, Vogel and Arnoff report the following. Between the creation of the Victory Fund in September and the end of last month, the fund had brought in $142 million, the lion's share of which, 44%, has wound up in the coffers of the DNC. $24.4 million, and Hillary for America, $37.6 million, according to a political analysis of the FEC filings. By comparison, the analysts found that the state parties have kept less than $800,000 of all the cash brought in by the committee, or only 0.56%. Vogel and Arnzoff also detailed how the DNC attempted to stonewall reporters on the topic, writing, "The emails show the officials agreeing to withhold information from the reporters about the Hillary Victory Fund's calculation formula, working to align their stories about when or if the DNC had begun funding coordinated campaign committees with the states." Interesting there, huh? The political reporters also note that Hillary Clinton's campaign attorney, Mark Elias of law firm Perkins Coie, also appears in a WikiLeaks email suggesting media strategy to the DNC. The DNC should push back directly at Sanders and say that what he's saying is false and harmful to the Democratic Party. Mark Elias, an attorney who advises the DNC and the Clinton campaign, wrote in an email to DNC officials. DNC CEO Amy Dacey, interesting, CEO, Chief Executive Officer, okay, responded, I do think there's too much of this narrative out there. I also worry they are emailing to their list, which has overlap with ours. In another email, Miranda, the DNC communications director, suggested that the campaign tells other journalists seeking to follow political story that Politico got it wrong, but the rest of his email failed to indicate any errors of Political story, nor did the DNC or the Clinton campaign seek correction. Politico's last revelations built on allegations in the class action lawsuit that has been filed against DNC and Wasserman Schultz by Sanders supporters. One document submitted in that lawsuit came from a previous hack of the DNC server by an individual named Guccifer 2.0. That shows that even after Sanders had announced he was entering the race on April 30, 2015, the DNC was brainstorming on how it could advance Hillary Clinton to the top of the ticket. The memo is described as the following lawsuit. I think this case has been done in Miami. It has been filed in Miami, Florida. I remember reading about this a while back. Among the documents released by Christopher 2.0 on June 15th is a 2-page micro-word file with a confidential watermark that appears to be a memorandum written to the Democratic National Committee regarding 2016 GOP presidential candidates and dated May 2015. May 26, 2015. A true and correct copy of this document hereafter, DNC memo as attached as Exhibit 1. The DNC memo presents as suggested strategy for positioning and public messaging around the 2016 presidential field. It states that our goals in the coming months will be to frame the Republican field and eventually nominee early, and to provide a contrast between the GOP field and the HRC, means Hillary Rodham Clinton. The DNC memos also advises that the DNC use specific hits to muddy the waters around ethics, transparency, and campaign finance attack on HRC. In order to muddy the waters around Clinton's perceived vulnerabilities, the DNC memo suggests several different methods of attack, including A, working through the DNC to utilize reporters and create stories in the media with no fingerprints. B. Prepping reporters for interviews with GOP candidates and having off-the-record conversations with them. C. Making use of social media attacks. And D. Using DNC to insert our messaging into Republican favorable press. You can read the full memoranda here. So there's a lot of stuff in there. Let's just see what they have to say. Oh, they're on a PDF format, so they all have the evidence here. You can really check it out. There's that link. Interesting stuff. So I like this a lot. They should just sue these parasites, as far as I'm concerned, to response to all of this. From Hillary Clinton has further enraged Sanders supporters after the emails were leaked and written about in the media over the weekend. Hillary Clinton made Watchman Schultz the honorary chairperson of a 50-state program, and President Obama praised Watchman Schultz in a statement that can be described as bizarre given the contents of the leaked emails. Obama said on Sunday. For the last 8 years, Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz has my back. This afternoon, I called to her to let her know that I am grateful her leadership of the DNC has meant that we had someone who brought Democrats together, not just for my re-election campaign, but for accomplishing the shared goals we had for our country. Apparently missing from those shared goals is allowing a fair primary process within the Democratic Party or a challenge to the political machine controls Washington. Yep, it's like I said, my friends. Russ Martins knew exactly what they were talking about. I do see some money laundering and, centralized power figurehead George Soros donating money. So we all know right there. Just another example. Someone in there who's been nominated to the party is bought and paid for and sold their soul. Something to really think about, really deep. That's why I always tell folks, do your homework. Don't listen to the rhetoric. Do your research. And like I said before, and like many of these candidates in the early days, you gotta make sure they're freedom friendly. They're pro-Bill of Rights. If they compromise it, they're null and void. You have to make that decision. But like I said before, it goes to the Electoral College. So, like I'll do it again. I am going to make that. I want to put that in my memo. It'll be on my speaker page. I know iHeartRadio is the links there. You got to really hit my speaker page. You get all the information I'm going to be addressing here. So, I'm going to take a little quick breather and I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Let's do a little remodification of myself, but I'm okay right now. So, next one here, my friends, I'm going to be talking about, this is from stpetersblog.com, and this is about, the referendum of Article 2 for the legalization of medical marijuana. However, we have this one individual, one group, as it's from actually representing Publix. It's called here Carol Jenkins Barnett Family Trust gives $800,000 to Drug Free Florida. As it says here, Drug Free Florida saw another big fundraising period, raising more than $800,000 in about a week. State record shows the organization raised $805,000 between July 9th and 15th, the most recent fundraising period. That sum includes a single $800,000 donation from the Carol Jenkins Barnett Family Trust and brings its total fundraising haul to more than $8.1 million. Carol Jenkins Bennett, the daughter of George Jenkins, the founder of the Publix supermarket, which is in the first one's actually in Winter Haven, Florida. She's a longtime supporter of programs benefiting children, and according to Forbes, has served as a chair and president of the Publix Supermarket Charities, which donates millions to each nonprofit organizations that support education and the homeless. Record shows the family trust gave $540,000 in 2014 to Drug Free Florida. A group ran a successful campaign and against the 2014 medical marijuana initiative and is ramping its efforts ahead of the 2016 election. The committee also received a $5,000 contribution from the Neal communities of Southwest Florida in the most recent fundraising period. The committee spent $31,517 between July 9th through the 15th. Drug-free Florida has raised more than $1.8 million since January. The vast majority of that sum comes from two sources: Carol Jenkins Barnett Family Trust and prominent St. Petersburg fundraiser Mel Sembler, who since May has given $1 million to the effort. Drug-free Florida ended up the fundraising period with more than $1.6 million cash on hand. The opposition campaign outraised and outspent the group backing the 2016 ballot initiative during the one-week fundraising period. Records show People United for Medical Marijuana raised $6,576 between July 9th through the 15th, bringing its total fundraising haul to nearly $9.7 million. The group spent $53,343 between July 8th and the 15th. The 2016 ballot initiative allows individuals with debilitating medical conditions as determined by a licensed Florida physician to use medical marijuana. The amendment defines a debilitating conditions like cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, HIV/AIDS, and post-traumatic stress disorder, among other things. A survey released Monday found 77% of likely Florida voters supported the amendment. Of course, it's the money game. You know how that goes, my friends. You got some folks they just don't want to make this happen. And you know what? If Publix decides to still make it drug free and all that. And that's, they're entitled. That's their business. But the whole thing is this, my friends. You gotta look at it this way. Publix needs us more we need them. That's for the people in Florida. Of course, Florida, Georgia, Alabama. I don't know, it's been expanding. They are, like I said, you can get them where it hurts. Their wallet, their pocketbook. This is how I see things. And it's a real shame because technically, okay, I'm not endorsing drug abuse and all that, okay? Two, especially with children, all right? But I'm talking about consenting adults and, of course, medical issues, all right? I know the state of Florida they may pass some amendments that risk outside the law, unlike the marijuana liquid for kids and so forth and illnesses, and that's good. I'm not too keen with the man, okay? I'm fair. I give him the thumbs up on that. But the whole thing is this, my friends. This is you gotta really watch out for the manipulation. And everyone out there gotta say one thing. People are sick and tired of victimless crime laws. And I agree completely. I question this stuff. And you know another thing you should look at? Look up. I recommend people to re-examine the 1920s, no, 18th of the U.S. Constitution on prohibition of alcohol. Look what got into the United States. Organized crime, people getting slaughtered. And the corrupt governments and organized crime benefited from it. Just think about that. Marijuana, it got let's say it got passed around 1937, and one of the petrochemical companies, DuPont, was behind it in Reefer Madness. Just type in Reefer Madness. The original one. They try to really push that deceptive, monumental lie, I call it. Well, it was good back then, but now, based on research and people doing their homework, things are changing. And that's what I gotta say: no victim, no crime. And even John F. Kennedy. There's a report that John F. Kennedy in the past by what was that book? Emperor Wears No Clothes by the late Jack Hare. It was in there that he used to smoke marijuana because he had back issues, and at his second term he wanted to legalize it federally. So, but I say this: the people in Florida need to vote yes on this. I'm going to go out there to vote for it. That's one. This is one. Like if it's about the presidential election, I'm focusing on the states. Okay, of course the House and the Senate and all that, but on the states, it has to be done. Don't let this monumental lie, this Ed Bernay's propaganda playbook, let you sink in and go, okay, I want to vote no because they say so. That's what you have to really examine. So, like I tell everyone, do your homework. If you disagree, hey, send some information. It doesn't bother me one bit. I always appreciate people's input. But I say yes, endorse yes on Amendment 2. All right. This came as international. It's still going on. It's happening in Yemen from the press TV. It says here 4,400 dying of renal failure in Yemen. Doctors Without Borders has warned that Saudi Arabia's war against Yemen has brought the country's dialysis treatment centers to a breaking point. On Tuesday, the International Medical Organization warned that some 4,400 people are in danger of renal failure due to a lack of supplies in medical centers. Saudi Arabia launched its military aggression against Yemen on March 26, 2015, in a bid to bring Abdel Rabbu Mansur Hadi, who had resigned as Yemen's president, back to power. Since the beginning of the Saudi onslaught, doctors have been struggling to procure medical provisions, especially those required for dialysis sessions. But the Saudi war and import bans have heavily restricted the country's health system. People with renal failure are at a critical moment as there is a lack of essential medical supplies in the country, said William Turner, the MSF head of the mission in Yemen. Oops, sorry about that. Patients usually need 3 dialysis sessions per week, but under current circumstances, for most people, this has been reduced to 2 sessions. Turner also called on international organizations to increase aid to the country's dialysis center. The imperative now is for these centers to receive regular medical supplies so they can continue to provide reliable, life-saving treatment. The war has crippled the health system's financial ability to import the necessary supplies and making need for external support to the highest priority, he said. MSF is currently supplying medical supplies to 4 dialysis centers across the country and will continue to provide the needed supplies for the treatment of 660 patients for the next 6 months. About 28 of the country's remaining centers are suffering from extreme shortages and supplies. If patients don't get their weekly sessions, they will die. As it's simple as that. Dr. Adel Al-Hagami, the head of the dialysis center in the hospital in Sana'a. Well, I don't know why the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia needs to stop bombing these facilities. One world order trying to rule the Middle East. Man, it's just like very mind blowing. And they say, oh, the people in Yemen attack Saudi Arabia. Please, I don't buy that one bit. And it's a real shame because you got good folks in there are risking their lives to take care of these people, these doctors. When they're gonna stop? When the Saudis are gonna let them do their thing? Let them take care of them. They're your neighbors, for goodness sakes. A lot of folks in Yemen don't deserve this. It's like the people in Saudi Arabia don't deserve your tyrannical regime. Government knows best. Like I always say before, and I know I harp it up many times, government in Latin means control of the mind. Put your thoughts and prayers into these folks, regardless of your belief system, as examples. That's including everywhere it's going on with tyranny. Doesn't matter what they are. Even it's going on stuff in South Africa with the Boers. I think there's a lot of problems out there, and it's wrong, all completely wrong. I condemn this with a passion, and the Saudis need to be called out on it. None of this one world order garbage, completely unacceptable. I'm gonna flush this down the toilet like it's overstench defecation. And I'll leave it at that. But please, put your thoughts in these folks, okay? All right, this is interesting here from the Free Thought Project. Justin Gardner wrote this called First of Its Kind. Studies show 55,400 people were hospitalized or killed by U.S. cops in a single year. If anyone needed a reminder that America has a police brutality problem, the deaths of Alan Sterling, Philando Castile provided. Actual numbers on violent police encounters are difficult to come by, but this dearth of data is getting more attention. New research published by the British Medical Journal demonstrates the danger posed to citizens by the most routine police practice of illegal stop. Researcher analyzed 12.3 million people from police interventions from 2012 and found that approximately 55,400 people were injured or killed by cops during a legal stop and search incidences in 1 year. Of this number, about 1,000 were killed, with vast majority dying from gunshot wounds. The remaining 5,400 54,400 were hospitalized with serious injuries, mostly from blunt objects. On an average, an estimate 1 in 291 stops arrested resulted in a hospital-treated injury or death of a suspect or bystander. Granted, some of these injuries or deaths were justified to protect officers or innocent people from actual violent people. But even the authors of the study conclude that these numbers reflect an excess exposure of people to police violence. An interview with Vogative lead author Ted Miller of the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation pointed out how many shooting deaths in the U.S. come from a police gun. In one case, in one case, 1 in 11 cases, where someone died because someone else intentionally shot them. A police officer pulled the trigger, said Miller. The fact that cops are responsible for almost 10% of firearm-related homicides in the U.S., which already has an extraordinarily high rate of gun deaths relative to other countries, which I think I could be pretty inaccurate, but I'll continue on here, should be enough to cause serious rethinking of policing across the country. The new study also confirmed that minorities are targeted for stops at a far higher rate, although the likelihood of being injured or killed during that particular stop was equal for all groups. Black and Hispanics are much more likely to be arrested when the police stop them than whites or Asians. This differential may well result from racism, said Miller. There's some claims, I'll just keep it like that. But once you are stopped or arrested, the likelihood that you will be killed or seriously injured during that police interaction does not depend on your race. There you go. Data showed blacks were almost 4 times more likely than whites to be arrested or stopped by police. So this racial bias in policing has been long assumed, and research is stating to confirm this. The death of Fernando Castell demonstrated how riding in the car while black can lead to an ultimate tragedy. Castell, who had been harassed by cops an unbelievable 52 times, was killed for doing nothing more than reaching for his wallet after informing a cop that he had a concealed carry permit for the gun he possessed. The entire incident started with Castell and his black girlfriend being pulled over a purported broken taillight. Cops use these petty excuses to pull over so they can escalate the situation in the hope of searching the vehicle for drugs or other contraband, especially when the occupants are blacks or Hispanics. Even police chiefs are accepting these tritium and in some cases making changes within their department. Tom Rydra, the police chief in Hamden, Connecticut, informed his officers they should not be so concerned with defective equipment, such as something hanging on the rearview mirror and attachment on the license plate. 1 year later, defective equipment stops dropped from 19% to 8% of all motor vehicle stops, which resulted in a number of black people being pulled over falling by 25%. Here is one clear answer. One clear answer to the problem of police violence being confirmed through empirical studies. Stop pulling people over for petty violations. Stop pulling people over as an excuse to look for drugs. Exactly. That means the people get pulled over, they ask you for drugs, you don't have to say a damn word to them, all right? I'm going to continue on here. Extend this to people walking, riding a bike, or otherwise going about their own business. Just leave people alone unless they are actually causing harm to another person. And maybe the extraordinary rate of cops injuring and killing people could start falling. There is a way to address police brutality if only we look at the numbers and implement the basic solution they suggest. I will continue on here. That is it. Yeah. So definitely, he is right on that. And another folks you gotta look at too. And I always talk about Arrest Proof Yourself by Dale Carson because he was a former Miami cop, And he said the same thing. Just be courteous. Don't even, like I say, if they ask you all these questions, ask your replies. What is the nature of this investigation? Don't even argue. And look at your state statutes as well, because you'd be surprised. But the more you know, the more they have to think twice. Instead of exhibiting yourself as some loudmouth, you don't need to do that. Just stay quiet and have everything recorded. You're documenting. Why? Because you can. If they don't like it, too bad. They go, hey, man, am I free to go? If they give you a runaround, don't say a word. Plain and simple. Yeah, and never, ever let them say we're doing this for our protection. Handcuffed. And two, you don't refuse to consent. Okay, if they got a problem, they got to get a search warrant. But make sure your driver's license is all clean as well. I know about the right to travel, but you always want to cover your tracks as well. Don't give them any ammunition. Trust me on that. But one thing I like is people are seeing this a lot broader. I don't know how accurate this medical journal is. All right, I'm not, but they have their like everything else. But I am one thing I'm convinced that the police are being trained more aggressively. They're becoming they have become revenue collectors for the municipalities. All right, that's why you gotta be vigilant. Truth, justice, and the goody two shoes way won't get you anywhere. You can be friendly, but be assertive and vigilant. Keep your guard up. The more know about your rights, the more they have to think twice. But I'm not going to condemn all police officers as well. It's just that stuff in general. All right, next one here. Orlando Sentinel. Val Demings at it again. Val Demings at DNC. Polls showed Congress must disarm hate. She's like a used car salesman. Congressional candidate Val Demings at DNC. Orlando takes personally that Congress refused to disarm hate. Orlando congressional candidate Val Demings addressed the Democratic National Convention on Tuesday night, invoking the recent massacre at Pulse nightclub and chiding Congress for failing to disarm hate. Yes, my heroes in Washington, please clean my butt, will ya? I know firsthand the tragedy that gun violence inflicted on families in America after 49 people were murdered in a nightclub in Orlando last month. Let me tell you, our city takes this personally that Congress refuses to arm hate. So she is using this whole thing. It's Washington's fault. The firearm laws could have made us safer. How come? I'm going to continue on here. Sorry about that. Demings, who was Orlando's first female chief of police, appeared alongside with House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and other Democratic women of the House of Representatives. I should have I need to take a dump if I use that name, Nancy Pelosi. You don't need to be a police chief to know that our communities are less safe when criminals and suspected terrorists can walk into a gun shop or a gun show and leave with a weapon. My goodness. This woman's in the twilight zone, Demings said. Demings is vying for the Florida's 10th congressional district in the crowded primary field, which also includes former party chair Bob Poe, state senator Darlene Thompson, and attorney Fatima Rita Fahmy. Primary is August 30th. Stephanie Murphy, the Winter Park Democrat challenging Republican Representative John Mica in District 7, also appeared with Pelosi, a former U.S. Department of Defense security specialist. She said Democrats of the party are better prepared to combat terrorism. I'm sorry. I gotta laugh. Democrats know a stronger America means confronting threats abroad without blinking and without undermining our values, she said. Democrats are strengthening to fight against terror by working with our allies and not abandoning them. So you're trying to say that you're gonna deface our Bill of Rights culture again, you dumb, pathetic buffoon? Please, Demings. Who's her mentor? Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Give me a break. A former police chief. She won't say that she'll never have the courage to say to the people in the Democratic Party, the Democratic Convention, the police are not obligated to protect you as an individual. And people in Florida should know that. The Florida Statute 768.28, which is again sovereign immunity and tort liability. Or not any more question about the police myth in Florida? Look up Wong versus the City of Miami, 1970. You'll find many cases like that. And everyone should start looking at that. I know I posted on my speaker page for a long time. Just look it up, and you'll find a site which is ncsl.org, and you'll be surprised. She's giving you garbage rhetoric. She wants to be disarmed. I know one thing for sure. Miss Demings is armed. She has armed bodyguards. She's probably another hypocrite, which right there, she's not more than treasonous. She should be ashamed of herself. The people, right, like I said before, the LGBT community are arming. They're not screwing around. And I know I said it last time, the membership in Pink Pistols went up 100% since that horrific shooting. And there's even discrepancies in that case. But then I digress. To all you people in Orlando, in that district, 7th District, you make sure everyone who's a candidate will support. If you want to fight the real war on terror, well, hold on here. I'm just mumbling for a moment. I recommend this. You want to fight the real war on terror? Defend or make sure them and yourselves defend our U.S. Bill of Rights culture. Bill of Rights culture. No ends, ifs, or buts. And Demings proves one thing. She hates our Bill of Rights culture. She wants to compromise it. Not just the Second Amendment. I'm not speaking NRA at all. I'm talking about the Ninth Amendment as well. Your enumerated rights, natural law, or other words, your natural born rights are inalienable. She's against that. You people up there need to call this wench out. That's all I have to say about her. I'm just tired of all these dingleberries that they're police chiefs and they want to be politicians, and they're going to tell me how I should live. The hell with them. I don't give a damn what party you're in. I got too many enemies that are running from both sides of the coin. And then now they're being called out. They're running naked, or a lot of their barrels are being rotted, including Demings. Next one, and I'm done with that. We got some cool news here. This is from the Roma.com. It came out like a week ago, and Ken Blanchard tweeted this. So he's from the Black Man with the Gun show. Check it out, blackmanwiththegun.com. It's here. Rosa Ezell sued the city of Chicago over gun rights. What's she doing now? By Lainey Landis. Rhonda Ezell is a remarkable woman who successfully sued the city of Chicago over gun rights, along with 2 other plaintiffs with the help of the Second Amendment Foundation. The main issue was the city required an hour of time spent at a range in order to be able to purchase a handgun, yet allowed no ranges to be built in the city. This is a dubious requirement for many who lack the resources for time and travel and who would like to protect themselves. It is particularly hard on women. Many have not grown up around guns and often take on added family responsibilities which are time consuming. Yet women are in need of being able to protect themselves and others who depend on them, for no matter how popular it is to say that women and men are the same, they aren't. Women are not soft boys. In general, they don't have the same benefit of height and upper body strength. In writing the segment 911, What's Your Emergency on Hot Brass magazine, I searched for compelling stories of people who have saved lives, their own and others, because of the ability and the knowledge of how to use a firearm. There are many, though they are usually reported locally, as it doesn't fit the narrative of many national media outlets. In fact, Rhonda first went to learn how to use a firearm when gangs became a threat, which resulted in the case mentioned above. City of Chicago's murders rate has soared, currently at 358 homicides for 2016, well above last year's rate at 490. Figures from Chicago Tribune. None of this stopped Rhonda, who was fortunate to have mentors who have helped her along the way. She has learned to shoot a variety of firearms, and the latest was an M1 Grand at 75 and 200 yards. Rhonda is now in position of being a mentor to others. She is working with the Second Amendment Foundation to get urban communities involved in exercising their constitutional rights. I have no doubt that she will be successful. I appreciate her story, and for this reason, she is on the cover of the Volume 25 issue of Hot Brass. Her goal is to leave a legacy to her grandfather, Marley Jordan Williams. We know Marley's proud of her. Marley will have a head start in the following the footsteps of this woman who is seriously about her rights and works hard to do her part in ensuring other people know and appreciate them as well. To borrow a phrase, Rhonda Rowe is the NRA and is also a member of the Illinois State Rifle Association. That's all I have to say about it. Oops, sorry about that. Wrong one. Bravo, bravo, bravo to Rhonda. I made a mistake on that. No time to laugh, but that's my real effect. And all I gotta say, I think it's awesome because here's the thing: Chicago, Chicago is that's their own planet, okay? Even on firearms rights and so forth. And even if you read Illinois Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, 22 to 24 is self-explanatory, null and void. What Chicago's doing. All right, so I'm going to add that link to it as well on the Illinois Constitution because your inherited rights, your fundamental rights, your right to bear arms, and your enumerated rights, which is Section 24 of that, if I'm correct. Let me just verify it right now. And rights attained, there you go, your enumerated rights. So definitely, folks, you should just, I'm going to add that to the memo. And I think Rhonda is standing up for what's right and what's great because other women should follow. So I think it's another good thing too. A lot of women are gearing up, practicing firearms and all that. So I find that fantastic. And I like to see more people. There's people, like I said, there's people I know that want to learn, and I'm going to have that time to teach them. And if they want to, and just the basics, and they can go further. So please, that's what's great about it because everyone's going for this gun violence, gun violence. It should be called violent crime. It's how you counter the tyrannical propaganda that's out there. Okay, here's some other good news here from don'tcomply.com. This is posted by Andre Gabriel Esparza. 2 men disarmed and detained at gunpoint while illegally open carrying. A Comply video has finally been released detailing the police overreach that was executed on 3 young men in Connecticut. Back on May 27th of this year, Dontrell Brown, Michael Pickard, and Goodman Brown were meeting up to exercise their right to protest a DUI checkpoint, a Fourth Amendment violation in Manchester, Connecticut. As always, Michael and Dontrell were legally open carrying their firearms when a person driving by called the police to tell them he was concerned with few guys bearing arms in an open carry state. Run to the hills. Exactly. By his own admission, Julian the Cisco said that they were in holsters and the rifle was on a strap and pointed towards the ground. He confirmed that they were not threatening in any way and were just simply friends just hanging out. Why did he call armed men that are already on the edge about make-believe war on cops? His unnecessary call could have resulted in the death of 3 of these young men who were just hanging out. Even though they were doing nothing wrong, the responding officer, John Ragnar, who has been reprimanded and suspended before for excessive force, immediately pulled his gun out of his holster and forced them to the ground. No questioning, no due process, no probable cause, nothing. Just a hot-headed cop using his 6-month police academy authority to oppress the people he is supposed to serve. Soon after that, Officer Peter Celio arrived and took off Dontrell Brown's rifle and slapped steel handcuffs on him. A couple of minutes later, Sergeant Ryan Shea pulled up with his authoritarian adrenaline pumping and seized their cell phones and snatched Mr. Packer's firearms, put a knee on his back, and shackled his wrists together. A couple of guys of hanging out called attracted another cop, Officer Ragnar, who arrived with his gun drawn and carelessly put his firearm down by his side while the muzzle pointed at their heads. Wagner then put his gun back into the holster where it should have been the whole time, then patted down and frisked Goldman Brown and cuffed him as well. Hooray to the Constitution State. That's the nickname for Connecticut, right? I'll continue on here. While Officer Celio performed a TSA full body search on Mr. Packard, the cop referred him by his name and made it blatantly clear that they knew him. After Michael requested and demanded what reasonable suspicion they had and what crime had committed, they were told they were all to be taken downtown, arrested, and charged for breach of peace. After being detained for half an hour, Goodman Brown was the first to be released while the officers surrounded him so they could attempt to instill fear and intimidate him. Dontrell was finally let go about 15 minutes later. Michael was eventually released about 15 minutes after that and was threatened to be turned into the state attorneys, who would then issue a warrant, but it was never issued. Dontrell's vehicle was stolen by the cops with an excuse that his tags were out, but that was untrue. After they had all left the scene, dispatch radioed the officers to call dispatch back on their personal cell phones, which are not subject to public records requests. A call then went out over the radio that these same guys were intimidating people and shining flashlights into cars, which is absolutely false because they were no longer at the scene, as the officers admitted. So another case of lying to cover their ass to prevent any possible punishment or lawsuits. Lying is their regular practice, so we see how they operate, and they are no better than barbarians. Well, well, well. With the government and the media urging people to snitch on their fellow citizenry for something that they don't agree with, it is turning into a dangerous and uncertain fatal disaster. Emotions do not trump the exercise of rights, but the knee-jerk reaction to anyone carrying a gun is an intermittent synapse from the eyes to the fear that instilled through the lack of adequate education. To the Manchester police officers who were also not following the simple policy of giving their names and badge numbers upon request, they were tracked down later. Manchester PD 860-645-5500. Their Facebook page: 1. Officer Jason Ragnar, 2. Officer Peter Celio, 3. Sergeant Ryan Shea, and 4. Lieutenant Sean Grant. Hopefully you men are very proud. I'm just wondering, do you have an altar of Benito Mussolini or Mao Tse-tung? Do you wear the buttons that you love them to death? You'll climax for them? Yeah, yeah. See, like I said, I don't go after the police as a whole, but I go after buffoons and fools and insecure people that love tyranny and believe they got a badge, they can do whatever they want. Those are the ones I'm critical about. I'm very fair. And there's folks I network with who are officers, and I don't condemn them, but when it comes to principles, yeah, I'm very critical. And you know what? It's going to backfire on Manchester Police Department or City of Manchester, Connecticut, because they have no right to do that to anyone. And you live in the nickname the Constitution State. Well, Manchester, those 4 officers representing Manchester are just contradict that. Do me a favor to these 4 clowns or 4 individuals. If it's the case, resign. Be a Walmart greeter. That's all you're good at. And hope I'm wrong. If not, then you know I'm right. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening, and plus feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks, including my archives as well. You can folks see on Spreaker, mainly Spreaker and YouTube and iHeartRadio. If you have any questions, comments, regardless, or you want to send me information, whatever you do, please send your correspondences with decorum. You keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Tumblr, Freedoms Network, and Unseen.life. Or you email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com. Before I go, I want to play a nice little song from some folks from New York City. Actually, it's called Madball, and it's titled Unity. Under 2 minutes, but I hadn't do a song in a while, and it's a perfect time for this great for this episode because we need to unite as one on a lot of issues. Always support common interests. If you have your disagreements on one thing, that's okay, but if you have something in common, stick together because there's people out there who don't care about any of us, all right? And I say that out of fidelity. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.
Now is the time for unity. Why? Because it means a lot to me. We can be strong once again. I've seen it before, and I know we can. Always try to hold us down. We are the ones who are still around. Why? Because we fought for unity. That is something they don't want to see. They'll always try, and they can't hold me. There are many who have come and gone. I've seen the weak, I've seen the strong. But to those who are true, you know who you are. This is all about you and me. In our fight against society. Our time has come, we have to make way. Now is the time for unity. Why? Because it means a lot to me. We can be strong once again. I've seen it before, and I know we can. Always try to hold us down. We are the ones who are still around. Why have we fought for unity? That is something they don't want to see. Don't think that we believe your lies. We see the fear in your eyes. You can't change us, so don't even try. It's up to us to make this last. We learn a lesson from the past. I've seen it before, and I know that we can.